Buckner, Laura McCray, and myself. And so the self-assessment, the tool that was used is the governance team self-assessment, which is the same one that we use for ourselves. And so with the governance structure being domain number 1, there were no issues or comments. We were ranked satisfactory, and how we are set up as a governance team, as our leadership role, and how we are in compliance with our state and law, and how we elect our officers, and so on and so forth. Under domain, under the standard, board acts as a policy-making body, separate from the roles and responsibilities authorized to the superintendent. There was a comment about us as board members to have more balance with getting down into the weeds, as we ask a lot of specific questions that deal with day-to-day operation. That goes a little bit far down into the weeds. Another comment was, as we review our norms, because our norms are also posted on our agenda this month, we can highlight on how citizens could ask questions. If they had a question or wanted to appear before the board, might want to highlight that a little bit more, and I take that as positive feedback, and still the rating was satisfactory. Domain number 2, our strategic planning. Had to do with how the governance leadership team provide input to and adopt our system's strategic plan. We had satisfactory in all of under the different elements. Some of the comments were other than having this one meeting and assessment, to publicize that how we assess ourselves, and we allow the community to assess ourselves, to add more emphasis on that we are actually participating in this process. And we talked about how, in alignment with our strategic plan, how we measure and report the performance and the objectives, and how we measure. I told them that it looks like celebration when we celebrate the schools for their successes and their growth, how they're moving, all of the gains, and we don't call it measurement, we don't call it the strategic plan, it looks like a celebration, and so they were appreciative of having a better understanding of that information. Also, one of the comments was under domain 3, board and community relations, to have more town hall meetings, and we can get back to that. We have not done that in quite some time, and but what we learned, I did point out to them, is what we've learned during the shutdown of the pandemic is how to reach our parents through surveys. We had webinars that allowed parents to the Connect to Ed, and in the webinars we had different segments for parents, for the district staff, for stakeholders, and surely we can do that again, and we can go out and do something live, or maybe have it run simultaneously live and virtual. But I agree that we could, get back to some town hall meetings. Otherwise, we did get satisfactory. Again, they brought about highlighting our norms to inform the public of our processes, and to bring back the superintendent roundtable that include community stakeholders and the town hall meetings. one year, a long time ago, we had done one a quarter, a town hall meeting. I don't know if that is necessary, but at least once or twice a year, and that's for something for us to develop going forward, how we want to go out from there. The next domain is policy development, number 4. Of course, we were rated satisfactory, and there was one comment about that we have good communication between board involving new wording of policies and recommendations in development, that we allow the public input because our policy sits on the table for 30 days. That's the kind of feedback that we got from our committee members. Let's see. Number 5 were board meetings. That was satisfactory. No comments to share with that. Again, thanks to the shutdown, we learned how to really make sure that the community can access a board meeting live stream in our library, YouTube channel library, on CCG TV, which has always been in place, but those were some of the remarks, but not necessarily in the comments. Domain 6 was personnel. We talked about staying in our lane and the effort that we place in doing so. We again got satisfactory. Some of the comments were to using our personnel also include the one employee that the board has, which is the superintendent. And the comments were that according to our strategic plan, somewhere way down in the distance in the future, if we are ever looking for a superintendent, to make sure that we align our strategic plan with the type of candidate that you would be looking for, and include our district demographics, which of course, all of that's a part of developing when you go out for superintendent search. And I told them that, what our processes have been in the past, and then they understood that a little bit better. Again, of course, that was satisfactory on that domain. 7 was finance and governance. We had satisfactory. Looking for comments. I don't think we had any. No, we didn't have any comments. And then the last domain 8 about ethics. Of course, it was satisfactory. And the one comment, well, it was two things. The board should work with the staff in the spirit of harmony and cooperation in spite of differences of opinion or lack of information. And then the other comment is similar. The board should be cognizant of how we are perceived when we address staff when they're at the podium, and to be keep an open mind. And those were all from our community partners. If you have any comment or anything, we will have fulfilled this portion. Ms. Buckner.
I was just going to comment on the actual community problems, up the community partners, the participants. That actually I was on standby, and when this Lori came, I still stayed in the meeting because the meeting was so good. It was a very fruitful meeting. All of the people were prepared. They had read over everything. They were just making comments, and I was telling the screen, this is kind of like the best meeting I've been in, when I guess it was, everybody seemed so professional. Everybody made very good comments. Everybody, and the meeting was very long. and they were engaged all the way through the meeting. You know, they stayed with the meeting and stayed talking about relevant stuff. You know, they didn't get off on different things. It was just a very good meeting, I think.
After that long comment, I'll thank you again for stepping in for me. And I will apologize for being late today. I have been traveling to South Georgia dealing with something with my mother who's in the hospital and is doing a lot better. But I really appreciate how people have rallied around and helped me as I've been away. Thank you.
We ran a little long.
I got off at like 11.
We ran longer than anticipated, but it is good to have feedback from the community, from our community partners. And so that was that today. And so next week, I will do our self-assessment at our regularly scheduled board meeting. And we can go now into our committee reports. Did I miss something? Strategic plan update. I'm sorry, Dr. Lewis, I'm skipping. Now I'm in a hurry. I wasn't earlier today, but now. Yes, sir. Get your mic here.
Great, thank you. As a continuation of this process, going back, and we try to review the update on our strategic plan from time to time, and this is no different. You may recall this document is our 10-year long-term plan with 4 overarching areas that focus on establishing a school system versus a system of schools, creating a culture of deliberate urgency, high expectations, and pride, creating and supporting leadership for instructional improvement focused on learning, and establishing clear expectations and transparent accountability for all employees. And then we established 5 various priority areas: full option graduation, learning, equity, culture, and context, high quality staff, operations, and communications and transparent accountability. Again, this is on the document and that is on our website. But in addition to that, we do an annual update, usually as quickly or as in a brief format, something like this, that many of you have taken out on different meetings that you may have had with various community organizations, civic clubs, so on, as have I. All this information has just relatively been shared with the board over time, showing our graduation rate under accountability and student achievement. We also have previously shared back a few months ago all of our SAT, ACT information, as well as our Georgia Milestones assessment results. We outline here in our 22-23 major initiatives the personalized learning that we had a presentation on previously, as well as our P3 2025 literacy initiative that was established in order to address the issues of the pandemic. CTAE initiatives and pathways. Our Lighthouse Virtual Academy, for this is our first year in that, and we'll be expanding that based on our budget parameters we'll talk about later this evening. Construction through the gracious approval of our East Blast initiatives for our by our community, and then continuing to work on restructuring of the school boundary lines we mentioned that will carry into next year. We've also talked about the heavy equipment programs in our CTAE. That is, we are one of 5 districts, and I'm so proud to share, you may recall, that we had 9 students enrolled in that program. All 9 of them were assessed, and all 9 of them passed with flying colors. So they'll be graduating from high school, being able to make very good salaries working in heavy equipment, certainly a high field, high demand area in our area. The Cyber Start America program, which is a program working on cybersecurity. And the last I heard, I haven't heard the most recent update, but we were either the first or second highest participating district in the country. Georgia was number 1, and we were either number 1 or number 2 as far as districts in the state at that time, so we're very proud of that. I've already mentioned our Lighthouse Academy, and then several of our construction projects, of which we'll have an update this evening later on, but of course Otis Spencer Stadium has been one of our hallmarks for that was just recently completed. And then we mentioned about the restructuring of our school boundary lines that are carrying over into next year in order to get it right, not quickly. But the focus on that is sustainable response to growing residential areas, 2, improving feeder school patterns, and 3, improving the efficiency of student transportation. So that's, again, something we've talked about either in formal presentations here at the board or what we've shared with you all in previous settings, whether it be the retreat or whatnot. But this has been, hopefully this has been a helpful little brochure to highlight some of the accomplishments of our school district in those various areas. So I just wanted to provide that update and share that with all of you and the community.
Ms. Tillery?
And I just wanted to add, the heavy equipment program is going so well in the schools that were
Ms.
awarded
Tillery.
this equipment this year, that they are expanding it for next year to go to other schools. And it is, we were at a Skills USA conference or
Yes.
competition this week, and it was amazing to see those guys and girls there competing and running the simulators. But this Cyber Start America program is also phenomenal. To me, what these two courses are doing, so what they'll do is one program will be creating a virus, and then one side will be fighting each other, trying to beat the virus. And to me, this is just bringing education to life for these kids. It's taking it out of just a book and making it more of an interactive type education and type learning. So these, and seeing these kids this week, it's amazing what's going on in these schools.
Yes, that's true. We are very proud. And speaking of the material that is printed, that I did highlight that too with our community group, that board members as well as the superintendent are often invited to different stakeholders and groups, and we take this information, district information, along with us to provide to the community. Mm-hmm. Yes, I did highlight that they were asking about bringing the round table back. Now we can get into our committee reports. We have our education. Hit your microphone, and we need one. Dr. Lewis has one other thing, Ms. Buckner, then.
My apologies, I should have done this at the outset of the work session. You should have received an email from me earlier this morning regarding the gifted program update that was originally scheduled for this evening. For the public, we had the presenter, a deer ran out in front of her this morning, and she is okay, but her car is not, and she's pretty shaken, so we've postponed that presentation until next month out of respect for that situation. So I just wanted to make that one correction on the agenda.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Buckner?
We're here? Okay. We have the first item for the Education Committee is Eddy Middle School's uniforms. And we have someone coming now, Mr. Vilas, to explain that.
Good evening. Many of you know this is my first year at Eddy Middle School. I was the principal at Forest for 3 years, so miss you, Ms. Buckner. But I'm talking today about the proposal that we have for uniforms for next year. This discussion actually started taking place last year after I met with Dr. Lewis. I went over and visited the school a little bit, talked to the teachers, some of the kids, and just talked about the discipline and things that were going on. And then we actually sent out a survey last year that overwhelmingly was approved by the parents and everything. But then I talked with Dr. Crooks and explained to her that we're missing out on upcoming sixth graders. And the outgoing eighth graders were going to be gone. So we were getting information from students that would no longer be at Eddy. And so we wanted to wait to the beginning of this year to actually submit anything. So we started in September talking. We got a group together to discuss dress codes. I called our 2 feeder schools. I know that they have a dress code, or they have uniforms over at South Columbus. And I've talked to Dr. Flakes over at Key, and I know she will be bringing a presentation to you guys here in the next month or so. And so most of our kids were coming in sixth grade, were coming in dress code, and then it kind of just altered a little bit. And so we got that group together. We sent out some surveys. We surveyed our faculty in January. Over 85% of the faculty are pro dress codes, our uniforms. And then we sent out our information to our parents. 85% of our parents responded to the survey, which was amazing. But and out of that group, 75% of those parents agreed that having a uniform policy for next year would be beneficial. We picked colors that were ours. The shirts would be polos or dress, would be white, solid blue, or gray. And then the pants would just be khaki blues or khaki gray. We didn't address shoes because I know that a lot of the kids wear the Crocs and things like that. So as long as they got a buckle or something to go in the heel, we were okay with that. And so we just kind of looking at how we could change the climate and culture of our school and make it more a positive influence for our kids and for our parents and everything, and make it easier on them when they're shopping and things like that. And so we've talked to our PI partners. We addressed it the other day in our school council meeting and everything. It does seem that it is something that the parents are really for the most part. Since it's early, the biggest complaint we had is if we waited late, they would already buy school clothes. And so we wanted to try to come to y'all as soon as possible and ask for y'all to please to review our proposal and vote on us about possibly getting a uniform policy at Eddie for next year.
Are there
All
any
right, thank you. Are there,
questions?
I would, and once, if this is approved next week, then make sure you follow up with the stores.
Yes, ma'am.
Make sure they order whatever the color.
Yes, ma'am. We work with Sarah Spano, and we were already calling and making sure that's why we picked some neutral colors that we know. But yes, ma'am, we will be calling stores, no doubt.
For the sizes and all.
I think it's very impressive that you all were able to get 357 parents out of 420 to respond.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's an excellent representation.
Yes, ma'am.
And the parents overwhelmingly, they want the uniforms. Middle school is such a, it's a different age
ma'am.
group. Yeah. It's a very, very different age group. And if we can take those distractions away, and I think that's what the uniforms will do for the schools, will allow them to focus on the educational piece. And definitely you have my vote on this. I think it's an excellent call on your part or on the school's part. And I will definitely be supporting it. But how did you all get the 85%? Was this sent out electronically?
We posted, if you come to our school for surveys, we put them on the front door. We call parents. We send it out on social media.
How did they respond is the question. How did they respond?
How did
Was
they
it
respond? Oh, yeah,
electronic?
it was a survey. We gave them a survey
Electronic.
that said, we were supportive of having a uniform policy, and we laid it out what it would be for next year, and just said yes or no, and sent it out to our parents. We posted it on our webpage. But for the parents, and we just made calls, and when they come in, right when they come in the front office, if you came to check a kid out or check them in or whatever, then we gave you the survey, say, hey, it won't take but just a second, could you please do this? And so, but just anything we could do.
Now, you may be surprised, but I find that your parents are very engaged and concerned
They
about
are.
their children's
They're very-
education.
if
And
you-
so I would just encourage you to continue what you're doing as far as that persistent communication with the parents.
It's car rider duty, I'm telling you. If you do that in the mornings, they're there. They'll talk to you there.
Oh, did y'all have any controls to make sure that there was no double voting to make sure that parents
One
weren't
vote
filling
per
out
family.
surveys more than one time?
Besides, no, we talked to parents and told them that they only had to vote once, and usually parents aren't key to take a bunch of times, but no, we did. I know we asked so many people that came through the car riders in the mornings. We had a little link that they could just scan right there, right when they came through, and we get them to take it right there in the morning. And if they had a mom and a daddy in there, or if they brought their, whoever came up, the parents that came up and dropped kids off, we had everybody taking a survey.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any more comments? Okay, Mrs. Green, that concludes the Education Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Buckner. Next is the Policy Committee, Ms. Tillery.
Okay, thank you. 6.01 is revised policy IDE, co-curricular activities. This is something we've been discussing probably for about 3 months now. And It is approved revised board policy IDE co-curricular activities as dictated by board policy BDC policy adoption. This policy will be carried over to the April meeting for final adoption. Do you want me to read the background and rationale? No? Okay.
So it's, yeah, go ahead and read it into Dr. Lewis.
So this, as you mentioned, it was in response to a request for a student to be able to participate in extracurricular sports sanctioned by the Georgia High School Association that are not offered at Rainy McCullers. And at the direction of the board, this policy was drafted based on input from the February 25th retreat that was held. And it reads, effective July 1, 2023, students in grades 9 through 12 enrolled at the Rainy McCullers School of the Arts will be permitted to participate in Georgia High School Association sanctioned interscholastic sports at their respective zone school in accordance with GHSA Constitution and bylaws that are not currently offered at Rainy McCullers School of the Arts. Students may not participate in GHSA extracurricular activities at both Rainy McCullers School of the Arts and their zone school. And in the version I gave you an example of what that would look like. It is the expressed intent of this policy that no transportation will be provided, and in the event of a scheduling conflict, Rainy McCullers School of the Arts events such as rehearsals, performances, exhibitions will take precedence and have priority over any zone school athletic practice or contest. Rainy McCullers School of the Arts students missing daily instructional time to attend zone school athletic events are responsible for making up all assignments, assessments, presentations, labs, etc., as prescribed in district policy / guidelines. Failure to adhere to this policy will result in a commensurate negative impact on the student's grade or grades and withdrawal from Rainy McCullers School of the Arts. And that again comes from all the input that I'd received.
And so the extra, that they may not participate in extracurricular, GHSA extracurricular activities at both schools. Are you going to, because if you just read that, it says I can't play baseball in baseball season and basketball or football.
That was the example that was left out here. We'll put that example in. No, sorry. We did put an example, and we'll add that to the policy so it's clear. So just to be clear, a student cannot play a sport in at Rainy McCullers for one sport and then go over and play at their home zone school for another sport later in the year. Wherever they're zoned, that's where they have to stay is for their school, and that's by GHSA Constitution bylaws.
Okay, repeat that. Yeah, I'm not sure I was clear.
So if they play, let's say they participate in cross country at Raymond Colors, they cannot go over to their home zone school to play baseball in the spring.
You have to pick a school.
GHSA guidelines.
You can only play for one school.
Right.
They could do cross-country at the home.
Just hit your mic, hit your.
It's not saying they couldn't do the sport, they would just have to do it at their home zone school, so like,
And Jeff Battle is here, you can
I
probably
think, well, no, that
clarify
might not
some
be
more.
true, because it's offered at Rainy
If there's a
Color,
need.
but.
I think
Sorry.
each athlete has to pick one
They
school
have
to
to pick a
represent.
school.
They
And we are
can't be
only,
represented
and we are
by
only
two.
talking about sports, we're not talking about other GHSA governed or sanctioned activities, it's just the interscholastic sports, because we're not gonna get into literary contests and all the other things. So Jeff, how can we clarify that?
I think Ms. Tillery nailed it on the head, like they have to pick a school to participate in. So they either participate at Rainy McCullers or
Right.
they participate at their zone school. And from what my understanding is, they do not have the option to participate at their zone school for one-act play or literary.
Correct,
That is not an option.
correct.
That is a Rainy McCullers function.
This
They
is
would
just
stay there.
interscholastic sports.
But swimming, the sports we do offer, cross-country, swimming, tennis, if they wanted to go to their home school to do that, they could, but they cannot do one at one and then another at another.
So, wait a minute, Jeff. So hypothetically, a student could choose to go to their zone school to play in a sport against Rainy McCullers?
Correct, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
That's the way this reads. Yes, ma'am.
Well,
So-
sorry, the way I read it, it says they can only do ones that are not offered at Rainy McCullers.
That's what it says.
So I think that's something we might need to kind of clarify. I think that was saying, I mean, the way the policy reads, it might not.
If it's
may-
offered at Raymond Colors, the way I understood you all one of the policy. If it's offered at Raymond Colors, they compete there. If it's not offered at Raymond Colors, they would compete at their home zone school if they try out and make the team.
But what,
So they
but,
they could not compete against Raymond Colors.
but that's not what this says.
Well,
That's not
the
the way it
example is,
reads.
the example.
So, since we're going to cite, GHSA, then we need to probably have a link there, to go over to the GHSA portion that specifically addresses that. And I say a link instead of copying,
Yeah.
because they could change their rules at any time.
Right.
And that way, we don't have to worry about
Correct.
keeping ours updated. But a link to GHSA bylaws would be helpful for parents. But what I'm not following is if, that they can't run cross-country at Rainey and play baseball at the other school.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're saying GHSA prohibits that?
I am 99% sure, yes,
We'll
ma'am.
get that clarification, but
But
that's
what
my
I don't
understanding.
understand is why if they decide, if they pick their home school in May or at the end of the year, they say for the entire next year, I'm gonna play at my home school. If they offer tennis at Rainey McCullough, I don't know why, they can't play it at their home school.
That's GHSA guidelines. They cannot.
I've heard it two
Yeah, it's
different ways.
ways.
Two
yeah.
ways that way.
So we need clarification because
Yeah.
We will
I can't even
get you
imagine them
clarification, ma'am. Yep.
competing against their own school that they attend.
They cannot. I know that for a
The-
fact. I spoke with
The suggestion would be that.
But they would be.
no.
If they gotta make a choice, they would be.
So I'm here,
No,
all
they
right,
would
let
not.
me try to
They
get a
would not.
clarification. If, this is how I heard it first. If the sport is
Offered.
is offered at Rainey McCullers, they cannot go anywhere else to play that sport,
Correct.
which means they couldn't go to another school and compete against Rainey McCullers.
Correct.
But then I also heard that, according to GHSA.
They gotta pick the school.
That if they play anything at Rainey McCullers, then they cannot play at their home school anything else. So hypothetically, if I was gonna be on swimming, or whatever, I couldn't go to my home school and be in baseball. And if so if they go to their home school to play, then they are picking a sport that is not offered at Rainey McCullers, and they cannot play, and they are foregoing the ability to play any sport at Rainey McCullers.
That's what I hear, and I need clarification.
I will get that in writing, very specific and detailed.
I think
Yes.
And
before
make
we
sure
vote
everybody
on
gets
this
it.
Well, we got 30
policy-
days anyway. This is a policy change, so it's a 30-day.
Okay, well, darn, I won't get the opportunity to vote against it.
So, I have a question, a couple of questions, actually. Have we had our lawyers look over the policy change, or
Yes.
Harbison and Hartley? Okay, so they've looked it over.
Hall Booth Smith, you mean?
Hall Booth Smith has
Either
read
one.
or I have read that to
Hall Booth
them so they
Okay.
approve of the language. The question is, because they're not going to interpret GHSA's constitution or bylaws.
Okay, so you will get us clarification on the GHSS?
Yes, ma'am.
SA rules. The other question I have is, I'm assuming that everything in here, in this particular policy that's underlined, is the new
New
section of
policy.
the policy.
Correct.
Okay? So we originally didn't address one particular school in this policy, correct?
No, ma'am, that policy was written for all schools.
All schools.
This is just,
So
this is the
Rainey
best place
McCullers
to
is the
put this
only
in.
school that finds themselves in this situation, possibly.
No, ma'am.
Is that correct? So that's my concern with specifically talking about one school.
Well, the other school that could find themselves in that situation has all the sports.
Oh, okay. So it wouldn't apply. So Rainey
It
McCullers
currently
is the
does.
only school that could find itself in this situation.
Currently, yes, ma'am.
Currently, okay, sounds good. I don't want us to make a policy that's only for one school and two or three others have the same situation, and then we're here again in a month
Well,
trying to
we only
change the
have
policy again.
We only have two that qualify.
Okay.
And currently Columbus High offers more sports than
Yes,
any other
that's true.
school in the district.
Yes, that's true.
What
Okay,
about the
sounds
Lighthouse Virtual Academy?
They already are allowed to play
Participate
at their
at their
zone
home
Schools,
school.
so they're already allowed, okay, perfect.
So we get that one point of clarification, but as I shared with you, I wrote the policy the way, with the information given to me by the board and under what I understood based on my discussions with GHSA, but we'll get clarification just to make absolutely certain.
And also, a part of the discussion was that we were not changing anything that Rainey McCullough does currently.
Yes, ma'am.
That was what was directed. That's the
Yes, that was the
25th.
direction. Not to impact Rainey McCullers, yeah, at the retreat. Mhm.
Are there any
Mr.
other questions? Thank you. 6.02 is the revised policy, DJC payroll procedures. The Division of Financial Service and the Division of Human Resources are requesting changing the policy regarding the pay dates for employees from a combination of monthly and biweekly pay to exempt employees being paid monthly and non-exempt employees being paid semi-monthly. In addition, the policy has been revised to remove outdated language. Does anybody have any questions or clarifications they would like to make about that? Okay, go ahead.
And concerning the checks, I think I talked to you earlier, and I think you was going to bring that back to me in terms of if everybody has a bank account for because this policy is a paperless policy, and the revisions mostly concerned everything that's related to checks. If they are lost, if somebody wanted another check or whatever. So it occurred to me that some people, I know I'm just, I deal with a lot of paper. Some people may not have a banking account. So I was wondering, how would we deal with that? I mean, if we maybe put like Social Security or like the federal government, sometimes they put money on a credit card or something if they didn't have a banking account. So I was trying to figure out, how would we deal with that?
Yeah. Yes, with that, we have been paperless. We have been having direct deposit required for the past 10 years and has not been an issue at this point that we're aware of. We haven't been brought any issues. And so we were just cleaning up that language of removing that. In a lot of places now that instead of necessarily getting a bank account, they will have one of the online banks and get like prepaid either credit cards or debit cards that they're putting their pay on.
Oh, okay, that's what they do. They employees get their own prepaid credit card, and we put it on their credit
Yeah,
card?
it'll just be put on there electronically, yeah.
That's
Just
good.
like
Okay.
any other direct deposit for us.
All right, thanks, because I was just wondering about that, because I figured some people just don't have a bank account. And now that I know it's just being cleaned up.
Yeah.
That's all technical. It was a technicality.
Yep,
Okay.
yes.
Next is 6.03.
Oh, I'm sorry, we
Oh,
have
I'm
two
sorry. Yeah, go
questions
ahead.
over here.
Oh, I just know we talked about this a little bit in the retreat, and I had been kind of concerned because I know this is a big transition for people, but just to say again publicly, you said you've kind of surveyed a lot of the groups that are affected of employees, and everyone seems very positive about this change.
I believe that was Mr. Anderson that told us
His group.
the group impacted. I know we caught you.
I just want people publicly to know we did make sure that those impacted do feel good about this.
Yes, we've conducted informal surveys with our team members who are impacted by the biweekly change,
And they are,
and they're in favor. Yes.
thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
really huge issue because they say that if they are paid bi-weekly as opposed to twice a month, according to them, I don't know. According to them, they say they get more money. I don't know, but that's what they were saying. I don't know.
So
Okay.
I just have a question. I know we did talk about this at the retreat, and did you mention that there was a budgetary effect of this? So, on this particular item, the two items we're voting on are policy changes. Are we going to vote on that budgetary effect? Are we gonna approve that, or is that inclusive?
It will be part of the FY '24 budget.
Okay, that will be
So-
coming to us in June.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But we're approving the policy now.
Well, we had work to get done to be able to make this change, so that's why we're bringing it earlier. We couldn't wait till June to bring the policy
Okay.
and implement it in June.
Okay, so when will it be implemented?
We will start transitioning people in the month of June through the end of August. It will be
Okay.
the end of August before we have everybody transitioned that we're going to. And it has to do when people's contracts are ending for their year, when their spread pay
April? Okay.
starts over, when they start over for their new year's pay, that is when they will start on the semi-monthly
So
cycle.
you won't need to spend any money until after June?
Right.
Okay, perfect.
So this is a part of your pre-work
Right.
going up to that. The surveys were conducted, the pre-work that needs to be done to get all of those over 5,000 employees ready to make this transition in June. So that's why we're working on the policy now, because you all have done all of this other work, but it's effective on our June budget, right?
Yes.
Just to sum that up, so everybody can be on the same page. Hold on. Okay.
This may not make a difference either way, but I would rather vote on the financial change as well, because if we approve the policy, we're already locked in financially because we're saying we're going to do it. To me, it should be done together, because if we change the policy, then we have to do it, and we know it's gonna cost us money in order to change the policy. So that was just my 2 cents, that it should have been brought, I think, together.
But you have your
So that
effective
we-
date? Are you including, is the effective date included to make it be in alignment?
Yeah,
Okay, do you need to update
It's
with that?
included in the policy?
the effective date is.
I do think from an information point of view, and I know you gave it to us at the retreat, but again, even if we're not voting yet on the actual cost, if that was somewhere included from an information point of view, so that it is a good reminder that this is where some funds are gonna be needed and how much, even if they aren't,
And-
even if we're not approving the actual expense yet, we do know how much that expense is gonna be.
Right, to be
Does
in
that
alignment with the
speak to
concern.
that?
Yeah.
That makes sense, Lori. That way then board members.
You want your mic?
Let's just say I didn't remember it was gonna cost a certain amount of money, and I'm approving a policy without realizing it's gonna impact the budget. And so, I mean, I remember it this time. That doesn't mean that all 9 of us remember that this is gonna affect the budget. And so, I agree, it doesn't necessarily have to come together as a vote, but at least the information, anything that's gonna cost money, I think should be shared with the board.
I will add it to the,
That's
the,
right,
Ms.
and
Green,
the description and the rationale.
perfect.
Ms. Green, would you let Ms., Nikki, did you want to say something here?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so, because my point was personal. And to that, I heard some chuckle when I said, getting paid twice a month as opposed to every 2 weeks. Now, I'm personally in a situation with one of our policies at the school board, and I was going to wait to next year to bring it up. So, Muscogee County's policy for dental, according to the dental company that I called, why aren't why am I not eligible to get, to be paid for my teeth to be clean? Because Muscogee County's policy says every 6 months versus twice a year. I have my teeth cleaned every 4 months. So I'm wiped out of having my teeth paid for because it may hit 1 year, every other year that I can get my teeth paid for. But if the policy was twice a year, I could get my teeth cleaned also. But since the policy is every 6 months, which to me is twice a year, but we say 6 months, I'm not eligible to have my teeth or not being able to be paid for. And I'm just saying, because y'all chuckle about the 6 months with the language and everything, so sometimes the language is important. I can't get my, with my insurance, I can't get my teeth cleaned because it's every 6 months versus twice a year.
Ms. Buckner,
And we taking up personal time for this. I want to.
It sounds like she needs
they
a
don't want-
one-on-one, Ms. Carter.
Yeah, I want to take up the time, but they chuckled on that. They chuckled on the language for twice a month versus every 2 weeks. And I'm just saying sometimes that has an impact with the language and what it actually says because it affects me. So I don't want to hold the board meeting up. I'll talk to you later about that.
Yes,
I just wanted to get that out, that sometimes it makes a difference with the language.
I think the chuckle earlier was, I said I personally like to be paid every 2 weeks. But that wasn't relevant to this, really.
Yeah. And
I was
Dr.
just
Lewis
sharing
said
my
that-
own.
Dr. Lewis
yeah.
said they wish,
But anyway, sorry.
and it was just a chuckle, but I'm just saying, it's impactful sometimes,
Committee. In this committee. Okay, Ms. Tiller, we're gonna put it back on the rail.
Is everybody, yeah, does
right.
anybody else have any more questions? Are we good? Okay.
Hold on 1 second for, Ms. Bloodworth.
I did want to comment on feeling like it's more pay. What it is they, in their check, yes, they will get more money in their check going from a biweekly to a semi-monthly. However, they're losing 2 paychecks or a paycheck a year. So that's the difference is
Language, they're not losing it, it's just.
it's
spread, yeah.
It's being spread. It is, they're getting paid 24 times instead of 26
Say that.
times.
Okay.
And overall, the whole year, it's gonna be the same amount of money. It just may
Aggregate
feel
amount
like
is the
it
same.
is an increase,
The aggregate amount is the same, it's just a difference in
how we split it. Yes.
Okay.
No, I know that, but yeah. Okay,
And
if y'all are
6.03?
ready for me to move, okay, I will do 6.03, the revised board norms for 2023. In official action on January 19th, 2021, the Board of Education established and approved meeting norms when they meet for the public business. The board considered it important that the public is aware of what those meeting norms are. For this reason, the board elected to develop a set of norms to be adjusted if needed and adopt them as an official meeting norms. And the Board of Education has made a revision to the norms. Do y'all want me
Yes,
to go
ma'am.
over that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You want me to read each slide?
Each norm? No, I thought you
No.
were getting ready to go over the, add the change.
Okay.
Read the change into the record. Thank you so much.
Mine is not popping up. Oh. Okay, number 1, there we go. The Muscogee County School District Board of Education affirms that, 1, we are a governance team made up of elected and appointed individuals with shared responsibilities, and our mission, vision, values, and strategic anchors are designed to support public education in Columbus, Georgia. I'm sorry?
That's it.
That's the change.
That was a change.
Oh, yeah, because we added strategic anchors, yes.
Yeah,
I was like, I know, I was looking at it going, wait, but we added the word strategic anchors is what we changed.
Keeping us straight.
I was looking through a scratch through or something, but, so do you want me to read 2 and 3 just?
No.
Okay,
We got it.
that is all I have for policy.
Thank you so very much. And Dr. Lewis wants to go ahead and update on that first policy, 6.01.
Mr. Battles pulled it up and shared with me, so I'll share with you the exact wording regarding this whole magnet specialty school type thing. So I'm reading from the GHSA Constitution and bylaws at section 1.60 on specialty magnet schools, of which Raymond Colors is one. Subsection 1, if the magnet specialty school offers the only activity in which the student elects to participate, the student shall be required to participate as a member of the magnet specialty school program in that activity. 2, students at magnet specialty schools may not participate in GHSA extracurricular activities at both the magnet specialty school and the school that the student would ordinarily attend. Those students must elect to participate in GHSA extracurricular activities at only one school per school year. For example, students could not play basketball at the magnet school and football at the home school. The election of the student to participate in GHSA extracurricular activities for either the magnet specialty school or the school of the student would normally attend shall be binding for the current school year. So it's good for one full year.
Okay, but the way I do hear that, I think that a person could play for their home school in any sport they wanted, even if Rainey offered it. But our policy is not worded that way, so we may need to look at the way the policy is worded. I don't think that's prohibited by GHSA.
I agree. That's the way I heard it.
GHSA just said you have to designate a school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
you did read that out loud, and I might need to read it.
The way I
But-
heard it,
I
Dr.
yeah.
Lewis, is that if a student
Jeff, you may need
wants
to come
to
forward from, you
do
work with us every day. I'm
swimming
sorry.
and football, they can't, because swimming's offered unless they do them both at their home school, even if
Correct.
it's offered at Rainey McCullers.
Yeah,
That's the way I heard it.
That's how I'm hearing it too.
Me too.
So they literally could elect to play baseball and cross-country at their home school and wind up competing against the school they attend in cross-country.
Yeah.
Okay.
It needs to be turned on.
Oh.
So, yes, ma'am, according to the GHSA policy, they have to pick one or the other. We can supersede that policy with the wording we have in ours saying if the activity is offered at Rainey McCullers, they have to participate at Rainey McCullers. So we can supersede the GHSA and make that part of our policy.
But then if you did that, then that would also preclude that student from, if they, let's just use cross-country and anything else, not offered. If they did want to do cross-country at Rainey McCullers, then that would preclude them from doing anything anywhere else.
Well, that would make them make a choice of what they wanted to do. But I will also, never mind, I will not.
But, okay, no, because I'll finish it for you. So yes, that does preclude them from unless they chose to do cross-country and baseball or whatever at their home school, in which case cross-country theoretically could be competing against the school they attend. They could be competing in that sport against the school that they attend.
That is correct.
That's heinous.
Not by the current wording of the policy we have, though.
But according to GHSA.
Correct.
In which case, then.
And how can we supersede GHSA? How
Well,
is that possible?
The superseding part would be us saying to the school or to the students at the school, if we offer this sport here, you have to play here. The GHSA is giving you the basis of the rule. You can add to the rule like we do in other things that we do.
But that's not gonna prohibit them if Rainey ends up going to the state championship. That's not gonna disqualify our student because they're doing cross-country at Rainy and baseball.
Yeah, they can't do both.
Oh, see, yeah.
Because I think we're making it maybe more complicated. This particular policy, as written, specifically says that if Rainy McCullers offers the sport, then they have to take it at Rainy McCullers. And I like that part.
And that was the way I
And
wrote it
that's-
based on what I heard you all say on the 25th. And the other,
Yeah.
because I was told, keep it as is. The other question I want to point to you is, we're paying an athletic director and coaching supplements at Rainy McCullers for these sports that we do offer there. Seems to me that you have to make a decision as a board whether or not, if you want to keep it that way, where we're paying supplements for an athletic director, why would you let students go from a sport that's being offered and we're paying for at a school to go to a home school?
No, I like the way it's written.
Okay.
That if the sport is offered at Rainy McCullers, then they'll take that sport at Rainy McCullers. And by doing that, the parents and the students have to understand that they cannot then take another sport at the home school.
Well, that defeats the
Yeah.
whole purpose
That
of
does
why
defeat
we're
the
going
purpose.
through this, and I think it needs some more discussion.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Mm-mm. It gives them the
they
option.
do currently. I will say, I was fine with, I just want them to be able to play the sports they want to. You know, it wouldn't really bother me if they went and played cross-country at their home school and, you know, baseball or whatever at their home school. But I know it's also a will of the majority, and I do at least think that the current policy is an improvement in that it gives them more flexibility than they had. It might not be the utmost flexibility, but it is a step to where they can do more than they already are doing. And I also think we've also somewhat talked about the fact it's going to be hard for a student at Rainy McCullers anyway, probably, to do 2 sports at their home school. So giving them the option that if, and in general, you don't have a lot of kids these days that really do intensely play 2 sports, sadly. I mean, it happens some, but I do think this way, if they have a sport they are passionate about, it is not often offered at Rainy McCullers, this gives them that opportunity to choose to go play that sport and it is a choice. They will have to then forfeit playing the ones at Rainy McCullers, but it does give them at least the flexibility that they could avail themselves of opportunities that aren't offered at Rainy McCullers. But I mainly asked this question earlier because I did not want us saying that we were not doing something because GHSA prohibited it. I wanted to make sure we knew exactly what GHSA said, and then, like you said, we don't have to do what GHSA says. I just don't want us saying that was the reason if that wasn't quite what
We have to
it said.
do at minimum what GHS
Right.
I was
says.
getting ready to say, because
Yeah,
they'll
we do.
disqualify a student.
Right. At
So
minimum,
we have
we
to
have
be
to do.
careful about
Yeah.
what we're talking about and what we're putting into policy to avoid unintended consequences of some rare
competitions.
instance that this student competes well enough to be in the championship, but because we have this policy language that conflicts with GHSA requirements, that they could potentially be disqualified, I'm concerned about that. And that's why I say we need more discussion, because that would be an unintended consequences of us making this policy without making sure we understand what we're putting into policy.
Yeah.
Well,
What is the-
sorry, and then the bottom line in everything that we have written and GHSA has written is you can only play for one school.
Okay, that's.
Right,
that's-
One
so
way
that
or
means
the other.
that would disqualify a student, and we don't want to do that, because we're not thinking about.
I need clarity on what the policy says.
Because he just said that GHS said they only can play for one school.
I know, but our policy says.
policy says that.
They have to choose, and I don't think it's that hard, and maybe that goes to why we'll keep paying an athletic director at Rainy McCullers, is so that they can track this, they can be aware of it, and they can make sure they're not in violation.
Let
Any-
me get clarity on the policy. So is this what we're saying? Let's say I'm a student at Rainy McCullers, and boy, do I like to play basketball. Okay, so my home school offers basketball, so I'm gonna try out for the basketball team. I make the basketball team. When I make the basketball team, that disqualifies me for every single sport at Rainy McCullers. I can only play for
Your homeschool?
for my homeschool.
And it also disqualifies you for any sport offered at Rainey McCullough at your homeschool, the way we have it worded.
Right.
Well, actually, it disqualifies me, period, for.
You cannot
for-
do the sports.
I can only play for one school.
Correct,
Okay, so I'm finished with Rainey McCullough with sports.
correct.
For that year.
And then
For
next
that
year,
school year.
next year I might be, I want to continue on the basketball team. I'm good. So I'm still qualified, I'm disqualified for the next year, aren't I?
Yes, you're making a choice. Yes, ma'am. You're not disqualified, you're making a choice.
Gotcha.
And the other thing that Ms. Buckner pointed out was a lot of our teams have tryouts to make the team. So just because they choose to try out for a
Doesn't mean
team
they
does
should
not
make the team.
automatically grant them on the team.
I think I
Right.
said, I think I said that.
None,
did.
n-
That's-
none
I
of
just wanted
that
to
will
be clear.
change, yes.
None of that
Everybody
will
has to
change.
try out, yes.
I just want to make sure, did I capture what the board's intent was on the 25th in what I wrote?
I mean, I think so. I don't think we quite knew all the legalese at the time, and I think that's what we're all still now trying to process, is how it plays out. But from my point of view, I did want more flexibility. I do think this offers that. It might not be, a perfect world, but it is one step further. One other weird I shouldn't say it that way, one other GHSA policy that I was gonna ask Mr. Battles is that whole thing of if you change schools, will that hurt somebody if they play basketball for Hardaway one year and they next year decide they're not doing that anymore? Do they have to sit out a year at Rainey McCullough, or can they just only keep doing sports at?
So as a freshman, using Ms. Buckner's example, if I decide that I'm going to play basketball and I go to Hardaway, that's my zone school, I try out, I make the team, I play, I come back the next year and I realize maybe I'm not as good at basketball as I thought, but I have been a pretty good cross-country runner now, so I want to run cross-country at Rainey McCullers. I am still eligible to do that, yes.
Okay, well, how's that not in violation of the whole moving from one school to another?
Well, because Rainey McCullers is your
Your assigned
school, it's
school.
your attendance
Okay,
school.
so that, okay.
And,
okay.
and this policy lets you choose
Which is your,
to do a sport not there, if, the way we're talking about, and do a sport not there for that year, but it allows you to change your mind from year to year, because as we've said, kids change and
Oh, I think
things
that's
change.
great. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure there wasn't an unintended
Now,
consequence. So
what
that's very
would
good news.
be ineligible is if they left Rainey McCullers and went to
Right.
any other school without a bona fide
In 1 year.
move, they would automatically be ineligible for
So
365 days.
that's true if they were at any high school.
Correct.
That's any
Yeah.
high school rule. That's not a Rainey McCullers rule. That's all of them. Yes.
Okay.
so just, I'm trying really hard to corral this. So is there any change you're proposing that I need to make to the language? Okay. Is there, are there any
I'm gonna
questions?
need for further understanding.
Okay. And then
And
are
then
there?
I'll voice my concerns.
And if there's any
now.
clarity that you need from GHSA, let me know that, so I can get that. Okay.
And I think the link, like Ms. Hugel
And we
mentioned, will be
we
good.
just want to get the language, and we'll embed the link and all that, and this is the policy we think probably best fits under co-curricular activities or other activities, extracurricular activities.
I think when you embed the link, though, you need to say, we are imposing these rules, because when somebody reads it, they're gonna say, well, according to this, we can do it. So if that is what everyone decides is best, it needs to be stated clearly. Muscogee County School Board decided that you cannot participate in these sports, not because if they read that and they're gonna say, oh,
GHSA said I
says I
can,
can do it, why are you,
Just leave it as written. So this is.
but they're referencing the GHSA.
Well, I think you can footnote that
Bylaws.
one last sentence, and then they'll know that one sentence is what GHSA is doing. Sorry, that's the lawyer in me. We do that all the time.
So that is what I'm gonna ask again. I asked if our lawyers have had an opportunity to look over this policy. Because I think they should weigh in on how the policy should be written. I think, Dr. Lewis, you've captured the essence of what we were trying to do as a board, or the board members who expressed that there was a need for a policy change. And then I think it's up to the lawyers to make sure we've made the right references and that we've written it where we're not in violation, and that it's clear for us and for the public, and sort of go from there. But thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you, Mr. Battles.
All right, so next is our property committee. So we are in the process of changing around committees.
But I am going to do property tonight.
Today. All right,
Yes.
Ms. Chambers.
All right, 7.01 is the naming of the athletic field at GW Carver. There is a letter attached from the principal, Christopher Lindsay, and I will not read this entire letter to you, but I will let you know that they are proposing that they name the athletic field in honor of Dale McGee. He lettered in football and track at Kendrick High School, and he was instrumental in developing George Washington Carver High School in the some state win, okay?
He led them to their first state championship.
Yes, state win. There are several, I'm not a football person, but there are several stats in this letter if you would like to read the stats, but I will read this last paragraph. The name Dale McGee epitomizes the Carver Tiger spirit. His countless selfless acts benefiting the George Washington Carver High School community continues to have a profound impact on the students, staff, parents, alumni, and wider global Carver community. For this reason, the naming of the athletic field at George Washington Carver STEM High School would symbolize the appreciation we attribute to Coach Dale McGee. So they are asking that the athletic field be named after Coach McGee. Any questions or comments about that, board members? It did not, yes, it mentioned, it's 2 pages on his entire career. So if you would like to read over it, feel free, but, okay, yes. So it talks about his time at Auburn, Georgia. There's 2 pages of his football career. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Hearing no further questions, I'll go ahead and move on to 7.02, which is the museum report. It is attached, and there are several dates and programs listed. I will let you know that the construction remains on schedule for the renovations. And in March, we have an artist workshop in which participants will learn how to steam dye fabric with natural materials. This will be at youth and family programs will travel to more off-site locations, including the library and the Coca-Cola Space Science Center. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. 7.03 is the library report. And I won't read all of the library report either, but I will let you know that attached coming up is the Columbus Children's Book Festival. And that will be Saturday, April the 29th, so mark your calendars, from 10 o'clock to 2 p.m. Children of all ages, including us, will be able to see an amazing lineup of authors, and there is a booklet attached that gives you the background knowledge of all of the authors that will be in town that particular day. Any other questions, board members? Hearing none, that concludes the property committee.
Thank you so much, Ms. Chambers. Discipline Committee, Ms. Sly?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. There are no items submitted for the Discipline Committee.
All right, thank you again. Personnel Committee, we have some appointments, recommendations from the superintendent. 9.01, Dr. Lewis is recommending
Emily Wilson.
Ms. Wilson as the new principal. She's currently the assistant principal at Diamond Magnet Academy. All of their resumes and information is attached. 9.02, superintendent is recommending Mr. Stefan Lawrence to serve as principal of Aaron Cone. He is currently the assistant principal there. And 9.03, Dr. Lewis is recommending the appointment of Janelle Deloach to serve as principal. She is currently the assistant principal at Rothschild Leadership Academy, and he's recommending her to serve as principal of Rothschild Leadership Academy. Current principal at Spencer High School is Rosa Patterson. Dr. Lewis is recommending she be appointed to serve as principal of William Henry Spencer High School. Are there any questions on these appointments?
Madam Chair, I want to just point out that the principals, all four of these are currently assistant principal at their site. All four of them have received favorable recommendations from their principal as well as the region chief. And all of them would be effective as of July 1st, with the exception of Ms. Deloach, who would be taking over at Rothschild and assuming pending board approval on April 10th after spring break, taking over from Ms. Myers, who's resigning. Otherwise, it would all be effective July 1st.
Okay. 9.05 is the personnel report. If you have any questions about the attachments, hear them now, or if after you have an opportunity to review them, we'll hear them later. All right, that concludes the personnel report. Up next is the construction committee. Mr. Cantrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving to the first one. At 10.01, the resolution capital outlay project. I think this one jumped on the page. It is. The construction department will submit a monthly status report for all the projects under construction. The report would give status of the budgets, contract dates, percentage, and construction companies. Might have jumped on the wrong one there. Yeah, it jumped off place. The reference of FY 2019 have been completed and contractors have been fully compensated in accordance with the construction contracts. The Board of Education must approve the completion of construction as required by the Georgia Department of Education. Three of them is Shaw High School Cooler and Freezer, Columbus High School Roofing, and Johnson Elementary Roofing. Any questions on these, ladies? If no questions on that, we move to our next, is 10.02, the construction status report. And Mr. Travis is coming up. He's going to give a report and a video show, I believe, too, aren't you? These mics on. Pat?
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. Don't have a very long presentation for you tonight, so we're going to go through it quickly. We have lots of projects that are in development but not quite started yet. However, we have several projects that we want you to take a look at. Matthews Elementary, our 4-classroom addition, it is an actual building now. So we are really excited about that. We are hopeful that our students will be excited for it as well. And our grand opening for that new addition will be April 2023. So we are on track with that project. Of course, you know we are building our brand new elementary school to replace Dawson and St. Mary's. This is the front rendering of the school. This is the back rendering of the school. We are really excited about the progress. We are on schedule, which is always exciting for a construction project. As of today, this is what it looks like. You'll see there, that is the main entrance going up. So that is the equivalent to what you see here on the rendering. We are moving right along with that project. We're really excited about what's happening out there. We're going to show you a quick video so you can see the construction. It goes from the eastern portion of the campus to the western portion of the campus. You see there in the middle where the front entrance is being built. You see the far west stairwell being built. So this is the front part of the building. As you know, this is a tiered building, so it's 2 stories, and then there's a lower story. The lower story is still not quite under construction yet. As you know, you approved some additional funding to secure that land and to make sure that we are very secure in the back of the property. So construction has not started back there yet, but we are on track with the front of the school. We're really excited about that. Additional projects that will be starting this spring. Lots of projects. Arnold will look like a brand-new school when it's all said and done with, and that will start this spring. Columbus High School HVAC project will start this spring and end this summer. Same thing with Hardaway. And then our middle school fields, lots of them will begin to have updates this spring. So again, at this moment, we don't have a lot of projects that are under construction, but we have lots of projects in development, and this spring, there'll be busy, busy people all over the district. We're really excited, and of course, all of these are brought to us by our East Splash dollars. We thank you for your support, and we hope that we continue to receive your support as we continue to do great things in the district for our students. Thank you so much.
One question. For the new elementary school, will there be a lane for just the cars turning in so it would not impede the flow of the traffic that's going? Will there be a third lane that would be the lane that allows for turning only into and maybe out of?
So there will be a
drop-off?
dedicated lane on the right to make a right turn. There'll be a deceleration lane leading to the campus. There will not be an ability to make a left turn for parent drop-off. So you can make right only, and there will be a deceleration lane that allows you to get into campus that will be added as part of our project. But the city will not be widening that street and adding an additional lane in the middle, if that's what you're referring to. There will not be a middle lane.
No, I didn't mean to imply a middle lane, but a right lane.
Yes.
So that the two lanes that already exist will be able to continue to flow.
Yes, that's the deceleration lane to make a right turn only.
Gotcha.
And then as we've spoken before, this school is according to our modern school designs, so stacking for cars will be on campus. The design is to have all the parent drop-off vehicles to be able to be on campus and not spill out into the lane. And we see that a lot with our newer schools. They have that ability to stack those cars on campus.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Oh.
Any questions, ladies? If not, no. Thank you, Mr. Travis. That's all for the construction today.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cantrell. And Ms. Williams is embarking upon her final presentation of the Finance Committee.
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First up is the 2024 budget, FY 2024 budget parameters. I'd like to call on our CFO, Ms. Bloodworth, to go through those parameters with the board, please.
Thank you. Janice Bloodworth, Chief Financial Officer, going over the budget parameters, and they should be coming up in just a second. There we go. First, what I wanted to do is kind of give you an update on where we are on FY 23. As you can see, I have listed the adopted budget for FY 23, where our current budget is right now. We had added some funding for the custodial contract after the year got underway, and so there has been a little bit of an increase in, the use of fund balance there. However, as we're looking at the projection for FY 23, where I think we will end up at the end of the year, I do not anticipate us having to use that $10 million. Most of that is due to vacancies that we have had throughout the year, that when we budget for full employment of all of our positions. And with those vacancies that we have had, we will not be using fund balance is what my projection is at this time. And I also wanted to give you a quick update on the ESSER projects, just because those funds also are impacting our general fund balance and what we're able to do with our general fund. So I wanted to talk with you about ESSER 3. ESSER 3 was the last of the awards that we received, and we are about 20% spent with that. The numbers that I have given you here are the projections and kind of a breakdown of where we are anticipating spending those funds. So if you look, we have about $22 million set aside for the learning loss, and the majority of that is being spent on intervention teachers and the summer learning experience, which will go through next year. And we have the meeting students' academic, social, emotional, and other needs. And you can see the list of the items that we have there with about $35 million being spent on those. We also have the HVAC projects that Dr. Anderson mentioned earlier with the two HVAC projects there. And then we have the mental health supports, which includes additional social workers that we have through the life of this grant. And then the operational continuity and other allowed uses. This is funding those hard-to-fill school supplements as well as the other recruitment initiatives that we had, along with some technology. And then in addition to that, we had about $12 million set aside for indirect cost and the consolidation of admin for a total of $95 million.
And just to point out, part of that, one of the areas that you just mentioned is to support the schools who are on these lists, CSI, that support that's in place, which is in the form of personnel. As they come off the list, improvements, that's great, but to also continue that support so it's not a hard stop and it doesn't become a revolving door. They get back on the list because we've now removed those supports that were in place to make the difference in the gains.
And just wanted to kind of give you a recap of where the other ESSER dollars were spent. This is a list of the ESSER $2, and we are 100% spent with those. We spent those as of September of 22. We had spent the last of those dollars, and you can see the various areas that we had there. With more of those here. You can see up under the operational continuity and other services, you can see the amount of money that we put back in to our employees in the form of salary supports. And once again, the total of this grant was $42 million. And then the very first one that we had was about $10 million, and you can see the areas that we have spent money on there. The one thing that you will see consistently through all three of the ESSER grants was the behavior support program. Now going on to look at the budget parameters. These are also listed as an attachment to the board agenda. First one is to continue our efforts to provide programs as we strive to become a premier district, which includes differentiated resources for challenged schools. Also, we are planning to continue our zero-based budgeting module. Once again, leveraging the ESSER funds to address ongoing learning needs and safety precautions. And the other one is to retain that mill levy at the 23.321 with no change in that. Also including here is the standard 1.5 mil transfer out to the Chattahoochee Valley Library and a small transfer to capital projects. The other one that we have listed here is to pass along the step increases within our current state of Georgia teacher salary schedule and the salary schedules for the non-certified personnel. That built within our salary scales are steps where certain individuals get increases every year or every other year based on where they are in the on the scale. And these will be just passing along those increases that are already built into the salary scale. Moving on to some of the newer ones, the ones that I had just listed are typical ones that we have from year to year. These are ones that are the newer ones that we have, and this is to pass along any state-adopted salary increases as well as commensurate increases with for other employees. That the budget includes at the state level a $2,000 increase for teacher salaries. So that's what we are including in here. However, the budget is not in the final stages yet, so we did not list out specifically what those increases will look like. It will be based on how the budget is finally approved. In addition to that, we will allocate funding for the increase in the employer cost of the health insurance. They have, at the state level, they have backed off a little bit and will allow that increase to occur over the next couple years. And with an ultimate increase to us at the end of it of about $8 million. But that will be incrementally increased over the next couple years. We also plan to evaluate athletic, academic, and music supplements for possible increases, comparing those to other districts, comparing them to other supplements within the district, and seeing where we stand with those. In addition to that, we will be expanding the Virtual Learning Academy from grades 9 to 10 to grades 8 through 11. In addition to this, I will be adding, as we discussed tonight, the move to the semi-monthly. I will include that as a budget parameter, which then will kind of solidify that approval once these budget parameters are approved. And if there's no other questions?
As always, we will spot check for market value in some of our positions as we need to, as requests come up, and to try and monitor and as we just have, not across necessarily all classifications, but where there might be a market value issue.
I just have a couple of questions. Would you email me sort of a more detailed breakdown of the $95 million, the ESSER 3 funds? I know you did a high level, but can I have a little more detail? And then you can send this to me via email also. In the budget that you showed, there was a $4 million item of indirect cost.
Right.
Can you let me know what those indirect costs are? What's included?
That indirect cost is a formula that the state allows us, a percentage that with federal grants, we are allowed to allocate a certain portion of that grant for indirect cost, and they're not specifically spelled out for any specific cost. It's just a percentage that we are allowed to take for those types of expenditures.
Like a
like
contingency.
Where does the money go?
It goes into the general fund.
Goes into the general fund, and,
Yes.
and then it can be dispersed
However
for
we
any
need
item
to.
you need. Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. There, in the parameters, you had 22 million in bonds. Well, this is from the governor's budget.
Okay.
22 million in bonds to replace school buses. Does that mean we can replace the buses, but we have to pay for it or pay that money back?
No.
Can you explain that to me?
That those will, as they award those, that they will allocate those out to the schools. And typically, we are allocated at the most one bus a year from that funding. And we get,
Okay. I'm like, what? We are in business. Okay, gotcha.
That's why,
yeah,
that's
no,
why we use.
that's the, for the
Okay,
whole
we may get
state.
one bus. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
we-
why
I
we
got
use
it.
eSplost for
Wish-
a lot of
wishful
our bus
thinking.
inventory.
Right.
Yes,
Okay, sounds
yes.
good. Okay, sounds good.
So,
All right, thank you.
Might also mention in the governor's proposed budget that I think we're pretty much to the point where he's close to signing it now. There is an increase for allocation for counselors, which is sorely needed to try and reduce that number of counselor-student ratio, as well as $50,000 per school for safety, dedicated primarily for these badges that we all have, and we'll have some upgrades, and that'll be an item be coming to you all because there's a need to upgrade our badges, and that's going to go for pretty much.
And key boxes.
Well, that's a whole nother thing, but yes,
Yeah.
the Knox boxes we
Well,
talked
we
about at the retreat.
can't lose track of it.
That's right, absolutely. Coming,
Critical.
yep, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Budworth. Next item is 11.02, your quarterly audit summary is attached. Are there any questions? The next 6 items will go into purchase exceptions. Excuse me, I've got allergies, like everybody else in this city. Purchase exception A and B, which is your textbooks, films, sides, videotapes. You have 3 items before you. Are there any questions on those items? 11.04, purchase exception D, which is renewals or continuance of existing purchase agreement. You have 1 item from Crayon Software Experts. Are there any questions on that? 11.05 is purchase exception E, and you have 5 items before you. 1 is frequently used vendors, and I think purchase exception E, is that professional services? I don't have, it's not listed on here. Equipment, materials, and supplies, excuse me. You have 5 items, 1's various, and then you have NASCO education, federal funding expenditure, Lakeshore Learning, federal funding expenditure, Profit Corporation, federal funding expenditure, and RICO, month-to-month extended lease. Any questions on those? Seeing none, that takes us to 11.06, purchase exception F, invitation to bid RFP, and you have 5 items before you. 1 is for the Jordan Vocational High School, College, and Career Academy. 1 is for Double Church's middle funding. These are almost all federal funding. The next is for Media Center furniture. And then there's 1 for Georgetown classroom furniture. All those are federal funding. And then there's 1 5-year lease for commercial printers to Canon. Any questions? Seeing none, that takes us to 11.07, purchase exception G, professional services. You have 1 item for Dobbs Transportation for extracurricular activities. Any questions? 11.08 is your monthly sole source and volatile purchases before you. And you have 4 items for your greenhouse at South Columbus. Yay, that's an amazing program. Your fuel, copy paper, and the renewal for the Synergistic Energy Conservation Program. Any questions? 11.09, you have 4 items for purchase order increases, which is 1 is for T-Mobile, 1 is for Frog Street Press, which is your pre-K 4 curriculum. 3rd is Georgia Department of Revenue Motor Vehicles for impact fees for our buses. And the other is Bonded Filter Company for our air filters. Any questions on any of those? 11.10, you have 2 items for competitively bid purchases. 1 is for the purchase of a wide format printer, and the other is for sale of surplus technology equipment. Any questions on either of those? 11.11 is for your new budgets, and you have 1 item from the Division of Operations and Facilities, and that's on a bus purchase. Questions? 11.12 is your monthly budget adjustments for Division of Teaching and Learning and the Division of Operations and Facilities specific to school nutrition. Questions? The next item is your donations, and I'll point out that it's around $20,000 this month, and I do say monthly, from various organizations, nonprofits, foundations, individuals, just such a wide variety of support from our community, a very generous community supporting public education. And then the last is 11.14. Those are your monthly financial statements. And that concludes my financial report.
Well, thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Chambers?
This is just a general question. The Title I federal funds, how are those allocated? Have we changed the way we allocate those funds? Like all of the different budgets that are coming, using federal funds that we have to vote on this time, is that coming from the school level where they have taken their Title I budget, created their own budget of what they need, and then submitted it to the district for this,
Yeah,
still same way?
yeah. There's been no change in the
No
way
change, okay, sounds good, thank you.
Madam Chair, point of personal privilege.
Yes, ma'am.
Since it's not a committee report next week, I do want to thank Ms. Bloodworth and her incredible staff. I've had the privilege of serving as the finance chair for a number of years and served on the audit committee for a number of years. And the professionalism, the expertise, and the ability to answer questions or get it, the responsiveness and the generosity with time, I just want to say thank you. Please pass that appreciation on to your entire staff.
I will do that. Thank you.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order?
Madam
Dr. Lewis?
Yes, Madam Chair. Well, again, I just want to say thank you to our board for, as this again is School Board Appreciation Week. But with that in mind, as everyone knows, Ms. Williams will be departing from our board next week, and we will have an opportunity to thank her for her service at that time. Look forward to recognize her and again thanking her formally for her service on the board for many, many years. And personally and professionally, it's been a pleasure. But we'll talk more about that next week.
I also want to say that you are so appreciated for all of your hard work as a board and including your families, for everything that.
Mine, Kathy. I'm saving mine for next week.
For Kathy. Okay, we are adjourned. Just wave goodbye. Thank you all for joining us.